Hey guys, it's Liz here with another video for you, and today we're going to be talking about everything that you need to begin dipping. Now, some of these things that we're going to talk about are things that are basics that you have to have. Some things I feel are just necessary for you to be successful, and other things you can just decide if that's something that you want to invest in or not. So the first thing that you need is something to protect your table or whatever you're going to be dipping on. I use puppy pads like you see here, but there are other things that you can have like a silicone mat. Other people may use towels or paper towels. What I like about the puppy pads is that nothing soaks through and you don't have to worry about the table or whatever underneath. The next thing that I recommend is a clear dip, and the reason that I recommend this is that the integrity of it has not been compromised by any glitter or color, so I feel like it adheres to your nails better. So I always start with a clear dip before I do my color or glitter. You also can encapsulate at the end of each dip, especially with glitter, to make sure that it doesn't get messed up when you file. A lot of people recommend these Lint Free wipes. They work really well for brushing your brush off. After you brush it on your nail, you brush it on Lint Free wipe before you pop it in the bottle. That helps with contamination. You can also use the puppy pad, just as long as you don't have too much powder all over it. That will help with contamination. Or you can use your Lint Free pad to wipe on your nail before or after activator to kind of get that activator off before you do your top coat. I use these trifold paper towels a lot of time. They work just fine, just as long as it's kind of pretty much lint free. Anything like that will work. The next thing that you're gonna need is something to clean up your cuticles. These toothpicks work really well. An orange wood stick will work really well. Or a lot of people like to use dotting tools. Here's a couple of different kinds. You just want the ends to be a little bit thinner. You don't want like a really thick cuticle line, because then it's gonna look like your nail enhancement's already grown out. So a good way to get a very thin cuticle line is to sharpen that toothpick or orange wood stick on your file, and you can get a very nice thin cuticle line with that. You're also going to need files that are different grits. This 100 grit file means that it's a lot larger grit and it will take down your nail really quickly, but it will create grooves. So you want something smaller like a 100 or 240 grit that will smooth it out. If you get close to your cuticle with this, you always want to make sure you season the end of it, and I'll talk more about that in my filing video. But buffer blocks work really well for that as well, so that's a good thing to have. So they have this foam side that protects your proximal fold, so when you're getting up close to you and filing your cuticle line, it helps protect that proximal fold of skin. So they also have ones that look like this. This one came with a foam side as well. Most of them have the files all the way around, but again, it kind of helps protect that proximal fold. So the next thing I recommend is a dehydrator or a nail prep. You can also use alcohol. This just kind of gets all the natural oils off of your nail. I use this one, the IBD dehydrator, more often, but this just helps to prevent lifting. So I recommend that definitely. So I did want to talk about primers. Sometimes they're called bonders. They didn't work for me. I don't know if it was my oily nail bed, but I felt like they made my nail enhancement pop off quicker. Now it did pop off with little damage, so I mean, I guess there's that. And if you want them to pop off, I guess you can try one of those, but I don't really think that they're necessary. Now the next necessary item are your liquids. I recommend Virgo and Jim. They've been my favorite so far, but I don't have any dip base right now, so I've been using the triple vitamin. So with your dip liquids, you want to make sure you have a base coat, an activator, and a top coat. Now some of the companies will have a base coat, top coat in one because they're basically the same thing. So this is Tomica. I haven't used them too much just yet, so I can't really tell you how good they are. but so far they're okay. Now another thing is the liquids will have all different numbers. So this one's 0, 2, 1, but they're all base coats, so they're all pretty much the same thing. This one has dip base, but it should have base in the name. Base coat, base, dip base, it's all the same thing. So the next thing that I recommend but isn't totally necessary is a brush cleaner or a brush saver. Some of the kits will come with something like this, but not all of them will have this included. But there are some that you can buy the brush cleaner just by itself. I'll try and find one of those and link those in the description for you if your kit didn't come with one, because I do recommend that you have something to clean your brush off just in case you end up having something contaminated or your brush starts getting stiff on you. I like to take the brush out of the bottle of my brush saver. That way, you know, if my brush starts getting contaminated, especially like when you're in the middle of doing your nails, if it starts hardening up on you, what you can do is just take a towel and clean off the extra liquid, pop it into that brush cleaner really quickly. I kind of give it a little shake. And then you want to just make sure that you clean all that brush cleaner off really well before putting it back into the other bottle. You can also, you know, just keep the brushes in there and then swap them. I know a lot of people do it like that. Mine gets like really hard in the middle of me doing my mani, I usually just like to take a new brush and take out that old brush and just replace it with a new one if it gets that bad. The next thing that you're gonna need is some sort of brush to dust off the extra powder. I like to use a stiff brush like this nail cleaner brush or a toothbrush. Just because I feel like it really gets all of the extra dust off of your nail so that it leaves a little thin layer. Some of these softer brushes, they're really nice and they feel really nice, but they don't get as much of that dust off. I might use them just to kind of right after I dip to clean a little bit of extra powder off, because those stiff brushes, if you brush too quickly after you dip, it's just gonna take all of that powder off. The next thing that's not necessary but it's good to have is an electric file or an e-file. This one is a good beginner file. The things that I just recommend you looking for is one that has the detached motor like this. Some of them have it in the actual drill and I find that they wear out a lot quicker. You also want to make sure that it has a polarity switch, which is just means that it can go backwards and forwards, and then a knob to adjust your speed. I still do a lot of my filing by hand, but it's something that's good to have. The next thing that you want to have for your glitters is just some baggies. That's one that I just kind of cut into smaller pieces. You use those just to kind of pat your glitters down, especially those chunky glitters. You also might want to have some cake liners, cupcake liners. These are good for spillage if you're dipping in or if you're doing the pour over method. And I think that's about it. Again, not all of these are necessary, but I feel like a lot of these are good for you to have so that you can be successful in your dipping. So I hope this helped. If you have any comments, make sure to leave them below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I also want to mention that I did just start a Facebook group for deals on some of these items, so make sure that you look for that in the description. And as always, thanks for watching.